Hello everyone, this is Siddhant Ray here. In today's video, I am going to be teaching you the basics of Python programming language. This is the first video of a series where all basics of Python will be uploaded video after video. However, please do note I'm only going to be teaching the basics of Python starting from literally printing. So if you think you're fluent with the basic topics including printing, data types and typecasting, you can watch my future videos on the topics as and when they are uploaded. So for this series, I'm going to be using the PyCharm IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It is a software that allows facilities and acts as a platform for developing other useful software. The PyCharm IDE is pretty useful and efficient. So as you can see, I'm on the Brave search engine right now and I'm just going to search for PyCharm Community Edition Download 2023. So you might be wondering why a community edition? So let me explain. There's basically two different types of PyCharm editions. One is the developer edition and one is the community edition. So the developer edition is for professional developers and they need to pay a specific fee so that they can unlock extra features. However, for normal programmers like us, we just need the community download, firstly because it's free and secondly because we don't work at that complex of a scale as professional programmers. So you just need to scroll down to this website by jetbrains.com and click on download over here. I'm not going to be clicking on download because I already have downloaded the .exe file for PyCharm. So you can make a separate folder called PyCharm maybe on your desktop or your downloads or wherever you like. And now I'm going to run this program so that I can get the PyCharm software. So now let's wait till it downloads. So as you guys can see, I've loaded up PyCharm right now. So for making a new Python file, what I need to do is I just need to right click on main.py, which is my folder, click on new, click on Python file, and let's just, for example, name it as test.py. Alright, this is a new Python file which I've just created, named as test.py. So let's begin with the coding part of the video. So now, obviously the most basic part of programming is printing. So let's learn how to print on Python. So for printing on Python, we just need to type in print brackets, double quotes. So double quotes or single quotes doesn't matter, but I would always prefer that you type it in double quotes and just maintain the same uniformity throughout the code. So whatever I want to print, so for example, I want to print I am at the zoo. Then let's just run this code. It printed I am at the zoo. Perfect. Now this was printing. It was easy, wasn't it? So I'm just going to comment out this piece of code. So commenting out basically means that whenever I run this program, Python is going to ignore this line and is going to focus on the rest of the code which is not commented out. And the shortcut key for commenting out is just control and the /. Now let's get to some theory and some difficult stuff. So I'm going to be teaching you what the 4 different data types in Python are. So basically there's 4 different data types. There's string, there's integer, there's floating point numbers, and there is Boolean. So string in Python essentially just means text. So for example, I'm naming a variable, name is equal to John. So John over here is normal text and that's why it's string. Now the second data type is integer. So for example, if John is 17 years old, we are just going to type in age is equal to 17. So you might be wondering, why haven't I put it within double quotes? So the main reason is that if it's a string value, it is always supposed to be put into double quotes. So now if I put in 17 within double quotes, Python is going to recognize this as a string value instead of an integer value. So I'm going to remove the double quotes and move on to the next data type. So the next data type is floating point numbers. So now for floating point number basically means an integer but with decimal places. So this is a very important concept. So the main difference between integer and floating point numbers is that an integer is a whole number without any decimal places, but a floating point number is literally any number but with decimal places only. So that is the main difference between integer and floating point number. So for example, a floating point example could be John's height maybe. So height is equal to, maybe John is 182.5 centimeters tall. So height is 182.5. So once again, I won't be putting this within double quotes, otherwise Python is going to be recognizing this as a string value. So that was it about floating point numbers. And lastly, let's see Boolean. So Boolean essentially just means true or false. So if an if condition statement is satisfied, it's going to be printing true. But if the condition is not satisfied, it will obviously print false. So we don't need to understand the meaning of Boolean in so much of depth because we'll be covering that concept in depth in later parts of the series. But just for explaining it to you guys for this video, let's define a variable. So for example, John is a male, right? So let's define male is equal to true. So that was it. So basically Boolean means true or false. So if I just type in false, Python is going to auto color it, which means that true or false mean a particular value or are required for a particular if condition. So male is equal to true. Let's see how to print the name of these variables. So print. So for printing John, I can either do John, but what if the name is something really lengthy? So I'm going to type some gibberish over here. So now there can be easily an error while typing this, and that's why variables are made. So now if I just type in print name, it's going to print exactly this. Because if I go to print this if I go to type this, firstly, it'll take me a lot of time. And secondly, there's a large scope of error in this because these are just random alphabetical characters and it's not a particular or a common word. So I'm just going to change this to John for now. And let's print name. And you might be wondering, why have I put this without the double quotes? So the main reason is that for printing variables, you're always supposed to remove the double quote, because if you put in the double quotes, it's just going to print out the text name. See, it printed out the text name, but we want the text which is contained inside the variable name. And for printing that, we need to remove the double quotes. As you can see, it printed John. We can do the same for all the other variables. Print age 17, then print height 182.5, and then print male and true. So now let's learn how to print the data type of each of these values. So for printing the data type of each of these values, what we need to do is, first of all, we just need to type in name. For example, I want the data type of this, which is string. So what if I want to print out string? So I just need to type in type, and then I'll just close the brackets. So what this code basically means is that it is going to print out the data type of the text which is contained inside the variable name. Let's see how it works. As you can see, class is str. Now let's see what the data type of age is. So it should print out class single apostrophe int. Class int. Perfect. Now let's print out height. The data type of height. Float, because it contains a decimal place. And lastly, let's print out male. As you can see, class is bool, which is a boolean value, which is a true or a false. So this was pretty easy, wasn't it? Now let's come to a concept which is typecasting. So for typecasting, I'll just comment out all of this, and let's start after 2 lines. So typecasting, as complex as it might sound, is probably one of the easiest concepts in programming. So typecasting simplistically means a method of conversion of a Python variable data type into another data type basis the operation being performed by the user. And for example, if the person does not want to type in his height, so wait, let's actually just comment everything. So not comment, like make just non-comment out everything. So if a person does not want to type in his height, so and what wants to type in something like moderately tall or something like moderately short, and if we make a code which asks a person what is your height. So for example, I'm just making in a code, so height is already, so I'll just make it height 1 is equal to input, what is your height. Let's print this out. Oh, I'll remove this. Yeah, what is your height? Oh, why is it showing an error? I think we'll have to run it again. Yeah, so for example, I'm just putting in my height as 182.5. that'll just take it. But if a person wants to input their height as, for example, moderately short or moderately tall, maybe. So for this, we need to change the input type. Basically, we need to change the input of the data. I mean, the data type of the input. So right now it was floating point numbers. So we can change it to str. So what this will do is it is going to only accept values which contain a string. So let's run this code. So I am moderately tall. Now it accepted this code. But now if I put an int, let's run and type moderately tall, it won't accept it and it will show an error. Invalid detail for int with based on moderately tall. Because moderately tall, which I typed, is obviously a string and this accepted an integer value. So that is it about typecasting. And so typecasting essentially just means changing in the data type of the input. So basically whatever you're going to input, the height one variable is only going to accept integer values in this case. So when I type moderately tall, it did not accept moderately tall and showed an error. But now if I type my height as 182.5, it is going to accept it. It won't accept 182.5 as well because 182.5 is a floating point number. So it's only going to accept whole numbers. So if my height is 180 centimeters, I can put in 180. But to be on the safer side, let's just put float and check it again. So for float, let's put in 182.5. As you can see, it accepted 182.5 and didn't give out any error. So that is basically what typecasting is. It is one of the simplest concepts. So yeah, that was it for this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed watching this video, please smash the like button. Also, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Siddhant'S Coding World. So yeah, see you soon, everyone.